So, kind of in the next hour and a half or so, kind of, I want to spend some time thinking about how we design the products that we're working on. If you're a coder, the things you're coding. If it's maybe it's the service that you run. Kind of whatever it is that you do as a job. I want to take it from a really specific angle, and that angle from what does it mean to design, to build, to work on a product, and angle it towards relationship. What does that look like for us as Christians? It strikes me that kind of technology can tend towards isolationism. Kind of that. If we think about it, if we build technology well, that doesn't have to be the trend that we aim for. That we can actually build things for relationship. This is a topic that I really care about. I think I've seen too many people complain recently that kind of technology is just, it's all about the person, it's all about the individual. I think that technology can and should be made for more. So I want you to cast your mind back all the way to 2011. Have we got any kind of UX-y folk in the room today? No. Yes, one. Great. So in 2011, in the world of UX, there was this big topic of conversation which was all around designing for emotion. And there was this chap called Aaron Walters who wrote a book on it, this lovely purple book called Designing for Emotion. And his argument was that kind of technology has got to the point where it doesn't just have to be functional. We can design with users in mind, and users being human, we can play to their emotional sides. Now, we've spoken, we speak a lot about old tech. We can look back, but kind of like remember back in the day of the dawn of the internet, and Tim Berners-Lee gave us HTML tags, and HTML tags were really cold because all they did was they took a document and they gave it some form of structure. So you kind of had heading, text, and then you had the hyperlink. Everything got linked together. That was very exciting. But it was scientific reports, it was papers, it was documents. Not the world's most exciting, emotionally driven content. And then kind of search engine came along, and search engine allowed us to find what we wanted on this big interweb. But the way that we talked to them, when Google first came about, was more like writing an SQL query than kind of talking like to a human. But we spin on to February 2018, and everything's changed. We don't talk to Google as if we're writing a query, because we ask Alexa as if we would ask a friend. So you'd say, Alexa, play me that song with the lyrics "Never Gonna Give You Up," and you get rickrolled. It's going to happen. And I'm sorry for whoever's listening to the recording. Or the new iPhone, it just recognizes your face. It kind of goes, hang on, we don't need to have this cold relationship with technology. We can actually start being more relational, being more using what you've got. So this idea that Aaron Walters had is becoming more close to reality. So in his book, he writes this: emotional design can create experiences for the user that makes them feel like there's a human, not a machine at the end of the connection. The way that we interact with technology is fundamentally changing. It's not just cogs churning, it's not just zeros and ones bouncing around anymore. It's just, everything feels a lot more human in the way that we interact with things. One of the big takeaways from Aaron Walters' book was that technology can meet people where they are. You can design it well and program it to meet their relational needs, their emotional needs in that point. So this is a screenshot from the Barbican's website, and one of the ways that they experimented with interacting with their events program, rather than saying, what kind of event do you want? Do you want a jazz event? Do you want a talk, a lecture? Actually, how do you want to feel when you come to an event? What kind of mood do you want? Do you want a otherworldly event? That sounds really exciting. That sounds slightly weird, or even more scary than nightmarish event. I'm not sure who actually clicks that one, but kind of, hopefully nobody wants a nightmarish event. That sounds awful. But kind of, it's immediately kind of going, hey, we're emotional people. Let's work with the emotions. Or if you've gone through GovUK's process to learn to drive recently, it's a fairly tedious process, but they break it down into short, manageable steps, knowing that actually people don't want to be overwhelmed with information. They don't give it to you all at once. They break it down, going, this is as much as you need to handle right now, and that's nice because it kind of goes, hey, let's not scare them. Let's make them feel nice and secure. Or anyone recognise that? Yeah, the MailChimp, at the end of sending an email, which you'll have all have received one of these from us, it gives you a high five at the end, going, yes, great job. And when I get one of those, it's like, whew, I've made it, and hopefully I haven't made a typo in the email. I love this kind of idea. I love that it's warm, it's fluffy, it kind of makes me feel things as opposed to, more interacting with technology. There's a delight that comes with that as a thing. So if any of this introductory bit is new, I really recommend Aaron Walter's book. It's a grand total of 100 pages. It will not take you any time at all to read. It is just really interesting as a how do we make technology with emotional users in mind, and we're all emotional users. But that's all to say that that's not where I want to finish this evening. I think we all know that computers are really good at talking to each other. It's just zeros and ones going along a couple of cable, and there's an increasingly we're getting better at saying here is a human, and how do we talk to a computer? Alexa is nailing that. And computers are getting pretty good at responding in the right way. We feel like that we're doing that one well. But are we doing that at the expense of humans talking to humans like humans? Actually, is the way that we make technology having an adverse effect on us as people? Because sometimes it's just simpler to communicate with an emoji. I don't know, because the way that the web was made was it's supposed to be this big knowledge sharing place, the betterment of humankind all together. But I'm not convinced that that's been the big thing at the end of the day. That actually is technology rubbing off the other way as a result of how we're making it. Is it having adverse effect on us? So that's the kind of discussion I want to start exploring tonight. Sarah, who's one of the Kingdom Code community, unfortunately she can't be with us tonight, she's unwell. But she wrote this in one of her blog posts, which I think is excellent. We're not talking, we're tweeting, we're blogging, we're posting, commenting, liking. We're under an illusion that this means we're connected with the world, with lots of people, but we may as well be sitting at home or in a co-working space lonely, not talking to anyone. That's ouch to me. I mean, it's we're doing it wrong if that's the case. Now, Sarah's working towards her interpretation of a fix for that, and I'm going to go and share a little bit more about that towards the end of the talk. But before we get there, I want to just explore a little bit more about what it looks like for us to build, to think, frame that conversation well first. I'm not going to point fingers at our preferred social media network and say it's their fault, because we've all probably read that Medium article already. But I want to frame it in three ways. Firstly, I want to spend some time digging into the Bible. We're a group of Christians, so not to start with the Bible seems to be a misstep. So yeah, we're going to do a bit of a background, biblically prioritizing relationship. What does that look like? How does that work for us? I want to then spend some time looking at the consequences of not thinking relationally when we make products, taking a couple of examples on that. And then finally, I want to look at some products that I think are doing well and see if we can pull some of the distinctives out of that and see what we can learn from these things. So, before getting into the Bible, I want to make this one really clear. I'm not a preacher. I'm a web developer. I am not theologically trained in any way, shape, or form. I'm trying to understand this myself. I'm trying to work out what that means for me as I build products. So So I'm going to take us to a couple of places in the Bible that have really helped me. But at the end of each section, we're going to break off into our little tables, and we're going to have conversations. And we're going to explore kind of like, actually, was James saying things that were right there, or is he entirely off the ball? We're going to discuss that together. We're going to sharpen each other's thinking. We're going to have some time to feedback. Tell me where I need to improve, please, because I want to learn from you guys as well. So, with that in mind, let's start at the beginning. You've all got Bibles on your tables. If you can jump into Genesis chapter 2. Should have given you page numbers. I'm sure you can get to Genesis 2 easy enough, but the next few might be quicker with page numbers. Never mind. We're agile. We'll iterate the next time we do this. If you've got phones, that would work as well. Anyway, right. So Genesis 2:15. In the beginning, God made Adam, and He said that it's not good for man to be alone. So look at verse 15. God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and to take care of it. Then spin on to verse 18. The Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. Now, this is the first time in the entire Bible where we see something described as not good. So previously, throughout the Genesis creation account, it's been good, it's been good, it's been good, it's been good, it's been very good, and now suddenly something is not good. We need to pay attention. We need to kind of go, why? Why is it not good? We can't just skip over that. So, why is it not good for man to be alone in the garden? It's a classic Sunday school passage. And, I think I've read this too many times with the idea, big garden, small person, Adam's lonely. He's going to get lonely there. But I'm not sure, the more I think about it, Adam's got God. We hear about him walking face to face, Adam and God in the garden together. By saying he's going to get lonely, says, God won't meet the relational need that Adam has. That somehow, God isn't going to fulfill him, which doesn't really fit up with the rest of our understanding of the Bible. So, the relational deficiency cannot be what's going on here. It can't be that he's lonely. So, look back on that verse. The verse says, so God made a suitable helper. So the problem isn't a relational deficiency. Maybe it's a helper deficiency. Maybe that's the problem. It's a big garden, not enough hands to do the job. But going back to 2:15 again, Adam's given a job, and at no point do we say, God says the job's too big for you. So we have this idea that is God going to give Adam too much work to do that he can't complete? That doesn't really work because God doesn't set people up to fail. So again, that kind of categorization doesn't work. While it's good to have someone to work alongside, to keep you company, that doesn't seem to fit the bill. It's not loneliness. It's not the job's too big. We see, though, that God puts a priority between the goodness between two humans. We have this big naming session of the animals, trying to find a suitable helper. Maybe one of these will fit the bill. And Adam's naming all the animals, and as a software developer, that sounds hard because naming things is difficult. What does that? None of these animals met the bill. There's something really distinctive about two humans. What's the deal there? Head back in your Bibles to chapter 1, verse 26. So the passage says, then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them, male and female, they created them. I want to argue that one of the things that Genesis is saying is that it's not loneliness that relationship is important. It's not too much work that Adam needs someone else. It's that actually our purpose, it's about a vocational deficiency that we're made for relationship. We're made to reflect God. Relationship is about reflecting God. It's about reflecting a relational God. We talk about God as Trinity, the triune God, kind of perfectly in relationship, and we're made to reflect that Trinity. So as we live and work in relationship, we reflect the God that made us. It's more glorious when we live in relationship and work in relationship with one another. We're not made to do that solo. We don't reflect God when we do that solo. As we glorify God in the world through our relationship, God is determining that relationship is better than living alone. It's what we're here for. So kind of when people say technology is making us more isolated, that kind of makes me slightly worried, slightly scared, because that's not what we're here for. We're here to reflect our Creator, and we reflect our Creator in relationship. Relationship is really important. Next chunk. This seems to be a fairly common mantra in today's society. Seek revenge, bear grudges, look only for yourself. I see it a lot on display at the moment, kind of, in interviews, on TV reports, even in films, kind of, people are just looking out for themselves. And these presentations and examples that are set are not the root problem. It's not just, the problem isn't just that people are individualistic and caring only for themselves. The Bible, as you read through it, is really clear that the problem behind each of these negative actions is a rejection of the relationship that we have with God. That the sin that separates us pushes in on ourselves, and we push others away in an attempt to protect ourselves from that. Sin builds up this barrier, and that's a problem. So when Jesus is asked in Mark 12, don't worry about turning to that yet, he takes the question to two places. First, he takes them to Deuteronomy, which says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, with all your mind and all your strength." Then he takes them to Leviticus. If you can grab Leviticus, Leviticus 19, verse 18. Do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against anyone among your people, but love your neighbor as yourself. That pushes massively against my sinful desire. Because if I'm honest, I really want to hold a grudge against someone because it makes me feel better than them. It makes me feel that I'm in the right. I'm in the right, they're in the wrong. I feel better. Wonderful. But that's not the attitude that's commanded. And I think kind of we can't miss the command that it's love. Love the Lord your God, love your neighbor. The two are connected. You can't separate it. We love as we're supposed to love as Christ loves the church. That's the example that he sets. And we're made in the image of a loving God. So, kind of we're designed to reflect that. So quickly taking a tech example, we often try and wrap ourselves up in this idea of I will give the impression of loving so that I will be loved in my definition. I will treat people as a means to an end so that I will feel loved. Which when you look at Tinder is it markets itself to a definition of love. You'll find relationship, you'll find meaning, you'll find happiness. But it's really self-centered love where actually I just want to be loved. And that's twisted. That's horrible. And that's not even remotely love at all. The reason that Leviticus gives why we should love isn't so that I will feel loved. It's always rooted in that command. Look back at it. At the end of each of these sections, it's because I am the Lord. If you identify as my people, if you claim to take me as the Lord, then this is how you act. Relationship is a command. And it's a command because we're identified as his people in that. And I think okay, great, I'll love the people that I want to love, the people that kind of are God's people. Kind of that just means I just love the Israelites, I love the other Christians. But then you could take the parable of the Good Samaritan, and you kind of go, oh, that's an uncomfortable love because my neighbor, according to Jesus, is everyone. Relationship isn't just made for the people who I want to be in relationship with, it's made for everyone wide. So we value and fight for a relationship because we image bear for God. And relation is what we do. And we fight for a relationship in what we build because it's very distinctively commanded. We can't escape that. Oh, I've got some clicky things, how exciting. And I think it can very much feel that it's us and them when it comes to technology. So we read the Bible and kind of go, well, here we are in our 21st century with technology and them without technology. So does the Bible actually have anything, can we glean anything from the Bible in that? But if you have a look at kind of the early gospel writers, they're utilizing the technology of their day. They took the newly developed paper system and the pen, not that new, but relatively speaking for us. And then they used the genuinely new for them road system, and they used that technology. They combined it together, and they used that to encourage and equip the church. They were using technology, and it was so good that we've still got copies of it in front of us. Technology is important. Technology works. Come with me to 2 John, which, if someone gets there first, can they shout a page number? Because I should have put that on the screen. 1229, thank you. So in verse 12, John writes, I have much to write to you, but despite all this wonderful technology, I don't want to use paper and ink. Instead, I hope to visit you and talk with you face to face, so that our joy may be complete. Pen and paper, ink, the road system, they're all really good. But John writes this short letter to say that he's coming and he wants to prioritize seeing them and spending time with them. That the technology has a purpose, but gathering with them in person will complete their joy. And I love that expression, kind of thing. There is goodness in this communication, but it's not complete. It's not complete joy. There's more to it than that. So in an email, in an SMS, a tweet, an Instagram, a Snapchat, whatever you're using, there's of course something of you, there's something of relational side of you in that message. And some of it more than others, but it's only going to be a fragment. It's only going to be a small bit of that. But you'll be surprised that complete relational joy isn't found in 280 characters. It just doesn't work. It's not the fellowship that God intended. It's never going to live up to that. It might spur us on. It might encourage us, but it's not complete relational joy. So John really gets it. Sorry if you've closed your Bibles. You're going to need it one more time. Turn back to John 3:18. 1 John 3:18. Thank you, Andy. 1 John 3:18. So John's teaching all about what it means to be to loving each other. And if you want to explore more about that, kind of keep reading that letter. It's excellent. In this he says, "Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and truth." Relationship is more than just words spoken. It's deeds done in person. It's not just sending a WhatsApp message. Or Tony Reiki puts it like this. The Christian's challenge is to love not only in tweets and text only, but even more in deeds and physical presence. I find that really challenging. Because, God uses technology and he uses it to equip and strengthen. And just look at us all in here in this room. We've gathered together, all aided by technology. You've received an email, you've got the tweet, someone might have sent you a text or phoned you, you've signed up on Eventbrite, You might have pulled up Google Maps to find your way to this venue. But we've all come to a room to gather. I could have just written us this blog post, sat in my room and spoken to my webcam, but we've come together for, hopefully, to complete our relational joy together. So let's use that opportunity of gathering us for relational joy. And I've got some questions for us to discuss. Probably going to have about 10 minutes or so. So maybe pick one or two, because you probably won't get through. Probably won't get through all of them. 1, 2, 3. Have a read through those questions. Pick a couple and see where you get to.